studying at school is largely a vocational experience. What we mean by that is it leads to some kind of career output, right? Whoa, I think I just lost my screen there. Some kind of career output or job. I hope everything's connected correctly. And we're going to focus here on what these sort of career opportunities are for the active leisure industry. So I guess really what we're trying to establish for you is why study this? Why are we going through this kind of study, and why is it relevant? Where might it lead in the future? I'm sure these are questions that you've maybe contemplated yourselves from time to time. Now, the first thing I'm going to mention to you here is that I'm really interested in 13 career opportunities. So yes, you've got to listen to me go on about 13 things right now. So let's see if we can go through them. Okay, so the first one is I want to sort of start off, I'll sketch over here, and I want to start off in what we might call a leisure centre. Now depending on what you've studied with me, you might be aware that these are quite often public sector, but they are present in most towns and most areas, and we could be talking about someone going towards being a leisure centre assistant. That might be something that you consider, or someone in active leisure, working active leisure might do that. The next sort of progression on for that, I suppose, is the exact same location but some kind of managerial role. So I'm going to say a leisure centre manager would seem to be a relatively predictable potential output for this type of study. Within leisure centres and other areas, we often have things like, that's meant to be an I, by the way there, we often have things like a swimming pool and therefore lifeguard. Let me do my D a bit better. Therefore, a lifeguard is something that might be a potential job. Now, I think if we come back to this one and this one, these are interesting because so leisure centre manager is a career, right? I mean, you're going to do that. That's going to be your professional role. Leisure centre assistant lifeguard might be something you do for your professional role, someone does for their professional role, but it might also be something that you do part-time and even you combine with studying. So they're not uninteresting from that perspective also. One of the ones that is an absolute classic, folks, is what we might call a H&F instructor, a health and fitness instructor, somebody that maybe works in a private gym or a health club and allows programs of health and fitness to be developed with the people using that. That's a really interesting position to have. I've done elements of that in my past. I haven't done elements of this one, unfortunately, and that's a professional sports person. If one is a sports person, if you are a really high caliber performer, you have the opportunity to earn money from your sporting performances, then of course that's there and available to you. Hard work, of course, but by no means impossible. A coach. We're talking about some kind of, sports coach, technical coach, someone that's going to improve the skill bases of someone's performance, of people's performance. A coach is a classic example. Now, don't forget with coaching, there's a lot of studies required in this, not just of the sport itself, but of also like the pedagogical or the coaching role of the actual, how actually coaching works and how it's successful. We're also talking here about, and this is really where I developed in my own career, a sport and exercise scientist. Now this will typically involve an individual going to university, it's a scientist, doing some kind of sport and exercise science degree and then specializing in one area or another. Just by the way, a couple of areas that you might actually develop into, I mean, one of them is going to be my very next point, that someone might become a sports psychologist. Okay, that would be an example, in my opinion, of a sport and exercise scientist, psychologist. I was trying to say one thing and I was talking about another. So I'm going to link that in here because I think that's a really nice example. But I also want to talk about a physiologist. Okay, this is someone that would work in sort of like the physiologist, someone that work in the human biology of performance. We could even be talking about a biomechanist, someone that works in the physics of forces and movement and therefore can work a lot in terms of improving people's technique. Let's take this a bit further. We've also got the idea of a physio, effectively working in the health and medical treatment of athletes. It's a very, very popular route and something that some of you may well be considering. We could be talking about an activity leader. Okay, someone who's going to lead activity in the community. This could be of various types. I don't want to be very specific, but it could relate to things such as Scout or Cubs or Brownie groups, for example, and leading activities like that. Could equally be based in a school as well. And then, at least with the amount of room I've got left, I'm going to put up here our play worker. our play worker, and I've got 2 more which I'm going to sort of scoot down. By the way, play worker would be someone that of course encourages active leisure in young people. And then finally, guys, if I break this into 2 down here, because I didn't leave myself enough space, I got 2 further. We've got what we'd describe as administration roles. So this would be, working in something like a national governing body, working in administration or organisation within sports clubs. And we've also got a sports development officer, or sometimes what we call an SDO, development officer. And these guys are responsible for the ever-increasing uptake of people within that particular activity, whether it's hockey or football or badminton or whatever. But they're also these days particularly centrally focused on meeting meeting the national targets that have been set. So I just want to be real clear here, guys. We have just gone over 1, 2. Pretty sure I said 13 at the start. 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 with different formats, 8, 9, 10, there's a 10 there, 11, and we've got 2 further roles here, 12 and 13. We believe these are amongst, there might be some other things in there as well, but we believe these are the 13 roles that somebody may well go on to perform a professional role within the active leisure industry. Thanks.